Welcome to The Good Pod, where today we're talking The Good Wife, Season 2, Episode 8, On Tap. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Reed. With me, as always, Marissa Garza, who all of our pre-show conversations are 2518 minimizations. Marissa, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. And I'm also good that those are 2518 minimizations because
you guys don't want to
you
don't want to know
don't
what
need to
goes
know
on.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you don't
okay.
want
It's
to
okay.
know. You don't want to know what goes on here in the pre-show of The Good Pod. Marissa, interesting
Yeah.
episode we got here. More of a we're back to kind of like that case of the week format in a way. Like this was definitely one of those, and we got a lot of interesting subplots where we got a lot of movement. So this is a very busy, fun episode here.
Yeah, I feel like The Good Wife is definitely like throwing more ingredients in the pot, right? Like we've got more things going, but altogether, like this episode, I think really worked for me. There was a lot going on. It touched back on some things some characters that we've met already, explored some new relationships, reminded us of some older relationship declarations that previously on, which we will talk about.
Yeah, when you get her previously on, you know you're getting some fun. Like, oh, we're touching on stuff in this episode because they got to remind us about what happened. Listen, before we get too deep into this episode, we want to remind you of some free and easy ways you can help this podcast. No matter where you're watching, no matter where you're listening, there is a way to rate this podcast. Whether it's 5 stars, whether it's a thumbs up on YouTube, we would greatly appreciate if you would rate this podcast the highest rating you can give it on any platform you are on. If you are on Apple Podcasts, you can also leave us a written review, which we really love and appreciate. And on YouTube, give us those thumbs up. That really helps us get into people's algorithms. So in those are the ways you can help us. Now, the episode. 2518 minimizations. Very interesting concept here that may not give our characters information that we want to give them. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Marissa, let's get this link started.
All right. Okay. So this episode on tap, because it has to do with wiretapping.
Get it?
I was like, are they going to a bar? Like when I first read the thing, I was like, are they gonna, is this like a bar episode? No. This was much more fun wordplay. But we open the episode with a grand jury, which to remind myself and everyone, a grand jury decides basically if the case is worth trying. Like, are we going to move this forward? Is there an indictment of some sort? So the grand jury is being talked to by the prosecutors, one of which, Jason, I think you recognized from 24.
Rico Aylesworth, who was a 24 alum. This is actually an episode full of 24 alums. She was, I do believe she was one of Jack's love interests in the show. She's on the show for quite a while. If you know 24, you know that not like basically Kiefer Sutherland was like the one mainstay, and the rest is like basically a rotating cast. But she was on there for a good while.
Yeah, and she's there with her unnamed partner who is like taking the grand jury through these taped conversations of an alderman in Chicago who is taking money from people, and this alderman's name is Matthew Wade, who also was on 24.
Yep.
And
I do believe he was one of the station chiefs in like one of the later episodes. I not am remembering whether he was a bad guy or not. I feel like he probably was. One of those bosses that ended up being a bad guy. But yeah, I do believe he and Rico were on 2 different eras of the show. But yes, 224 alums who I think one of them was on 24 before this episode came out, and the other one was after. But yeah,
connected by the Good Wife.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Always.
I'm sure that was like a conversation they had. Like, remember that one time when we were on different shows or different times in the same show? Yeah. Probably not.
But McKelty Williamson's actually like a really like accomplished actor. He's been in tons and tons of stuff. Did you recognize him, Marissa, from your Chicago PD watching?
Yeah. I was like, I know that guy. Yeah, so he's being accused of being a corrupt politician, and there's actually 2 people in this case, but one is dead. So we're only going to charge Matthew Wade with this, like being a corrupt politician. count, basically. Like they're trying to decide like what the charge is in this grand jury case.
Yeah, because he's an alderman who's recently won his election. Who's in one of I think they call it like one of the poorer wards in Chicago. So he's a newly appointed alderman, and now we're looking into his his finances and where he's getting his money from.
As as one does. And we introduced to the concept of a 2518 minimization, which the DA tells us, like, you're going to hear this in these tapes because that's when the conversation turns personal. Lots of questions about this. What determines a personal situation? Who puts this in? What happens to the tape that, like, the conversation, like, where does that go on the cutting room floor? Like, is that still not being held by the feds? Probably. But like where is that? But this is a very key like term for our entire story here. So I just want to make sure 2518 minimization means a private conversation. Then we go from the grand jury to see Matthew Wade playing basketball with Will. Will is like the master basketball like networker. Like he's played everyone.
Yeah, and we actually found out, in the pre, like when we were with the prosecution here, as they were explaining to the grand jury, we also know that Matthew Wade was a Detroit Piston in the year 2000. So he's a former basketball player, now turned politician. And of course, somehow Will has become acquainted with this man. They're good friends, very good friends, which we'll find out like
because very about Alicia. Like they're talking and they're like, did you talk to her? Blah, blah, blah. Like what?
Like what is it about this man, Matthew Wade, that made Will want to confide in him his deepest, darkest secrets about Alicia? Like this is the first time we've heard of Matthew Wade, and the fact that he and Will are great friends. It's so weird that this is the man that Will has been confiding in. This is the first time we've ever met this person for reasons unknown. It's so interesting because, of course, Will, I'm sure, tells everyone that he knows, hey, I play basketball with a former Detroit
Matthew
Wade. One of my good friends.
Yeah.
You're a Matthew Wade. You ever heard of him? So yeah, he and Will are chopping it up on the b-ball court as they're, and for whatever reason, Matthew Wade, I guess, just doesn't have it anymore because he's letting Will score on him, in this basketball game.
Well, his focus is not on the basketball game because he's waiting to hear about this indictment. And Tammy, who we know from previous episodes, but like Will's latest fling, stops by to watch, which gets Wade to be like, oh, so you're over Alicia now? Like what's going on? Alicia is standing outside of the grand jury room, calls Will, gives him an update, and he has this line which I think is like the outsider's view of Chicago. It's like, in Chicago, you only need your friend 3 times: at your wedding, at your wake, and at your first indictment. I was like, okay, okay, well, okay,
we get it. People in Chicago are corrupt,
Yeah, like okay. Maybe in your basketball circle, Will, like maybe that's the thing to look into is like how many people get indicted from this basketball court. I have no idea. But the plan is to have Kalinda, follow people out of the room and make sure she can like get some information. And then we see this interplay between Tammy and Will, and like Will's like really cares about the situation. He's like, look, Matthew Wade is a Black Muslim alderman from the poorest ward in Chicago, and Tammy is like falling asleep at this. Like she does
like
not
boring.
care. Yeah,
I don't care about your little politician world. I just care about sports. I'm a sports girly. I don't care about anything else. Like,
yeah, and we have to like remember when this episode does a good job of reminding us when this episode is happening. But this is like late 2010, so Obama is in the middle of his presidency. There's a lot of Black Muslim talk about the current president at that time. So this is definitely a conversation that was being had. And the charge comes back though, and they were not expecting this charge. This charge comes back with terrorism. Mm-hmm. How interesting that we are talking about this episode in late 2024 when there has been another surprising terrorism charge made in the United States. But the charge here is that that Wade took Islamic extremist money, and so therefore he must be involved in terrorism, obviously, because one, there's no other terrorists other than Islamic terrorists because it's 2010 and that's how the world works. This is me being sarcastic, which it will come in like, this is like, if this were the Wiretape, that would be like the out of context taken to get me in trouble. But
Writing down the time code of that,
Yeah,
using that
yeah, sorry. There's
as
no
blackmail leverage
2518.
later.
Yeah. 2518, 2518. So with this charge, Will goes marching into Diane's office and is like, look, you got to take the case. Like, this is something I need you to do because we need it. And Diane sees this as kind of a little bit of a power play here because she knows the conversations that Will has been having with Derek about like pushing her out. And so she knows she can, use this as leverage. And she's asking him like, what if I decide that he needs to take a plea? And he's like, it's all yours. Like, I just need you to take this case. So she walks into the conference room, gets everybody in line. She does mention that like Rod Blagojevich, which is on the Hall of Fame of corrupt governors from the state of Illinois. But she's saying
that Hall of Fame is a big one, Marissa.
It's deep bench. It's deep bench. Yeah,
not going on.
There is a lot going on. Just because I live here doesn't mean I condone every governor.
Sorry, Marissa. I'll be there for your first indictment. We're good friends.
Oh, thanks. I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. But the way she's framing this is like, because we had a corrupt governor, like they're going to investigate like every politician to ever happen and see what they can get them on. Kalinda is going to work on finding out more about the other guy, the guy who had died. I'm going to stop for a second because I'm also going to close this. Frogs in my throat.
Get them frogs out.
Okay. I'm going to start with the Kalinda thing. Kalinda's going to work on finding more about the other guy who I put his name Crombie.
Crombie?
Yeah.
He's a bundler. Whatever that means.
He's going to bundle some money, send it over.
Bundle some money for you. Doesn't matter where it came from. I'm going to bundle it. I'm going to give it to you.
And we get to see Julius take the lead here, and he's going to lead a group to go listen to the tapes of the feds.
Can I
get in there? Get in there.
I want to rant.
I'm here for it. 2518 minimization.
Okay. I do believe this is the first time we are seeing Julius back on our screen in season 2 of The Good Wife.
Yeah, I think you're
right.
When
does that happen? Right after the other black lawyer departs the show for an undetermined amount of time. And now Julius is back. The other black lawyer. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
There's only so many lines they can push.
Oh my God. We can't have more than 2 black lawyers on the show at one time. We lost our other black lawyer last episode. Let's bring our reserve black lawyer back in.
Oh my God.
Come on, Good Wife. Come on. I was mad. I was like, really? Like now
there's
now
no Wendy's got car. Like it's not just black men, it's black women too. Like there can only be one black person.
I was like, come on, man. That's so transparent. It's like the other black guy's gone. Let's get the other black guy in here. I chuckled. I really did. I was mad. I also chuckled. I was like, really? This is what we're gonna do? This is how we're doing it?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could see that. I thank you for pointing that out because I was like, oh no.
Oh man. I was like, come on, man. Come on. It's bad enough. Julius and Bond are never in the same episode or room together. Now it's just like, well, one leaves, we can bring the other one back in. I was annoyed while also really chuckling at the absurdity of this development.
I love that it's obvious to us in 2025, but I don't know in 2010 we would have picked up on it. So that's good. That's good for us. So Julius, now that he has the clearance on the show to do something.
Now that he can come back. I wonder if Michael Boatman like thought about that as they were like, "Hey, come on back." He's like, "Oh, okay." Like, interesting.
That's so convenient. I wonder if he was like sitting in the sidelines the whole time.
Who knows?
So Julius is gonna take this group. He's gonna go listen to the tapes at they have to go to the federal building to like listen to these tapes. There's 135 hours. He takes a team of people. They're looking to find evidence of the words, basically Islamic extremist or terrorism or something in the tapes. The team arrives at the feds. This is not Julius's first rodeo. He knows how this is going to work. He's like, look, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to get cold. You're not going to have what you need, but do not complain. Just do what you need to do. I did you pick this up? Did you pick up the nod from the security agent to Julius and then the not so nod to Alicia?
Oh no, I didn't pick that up at all.
Yeah.
It's just like obviously they don't want these people in here, like because this is a federal building. They're trying to find evidence to not support a federal case. Like they're trying to make it as uncomfortable as they can. I
Right.
like how they all brought jackets because they're all anticipating that they would try to freeze them out, but instead they're trying to like heat them. They're trying to like heat them out instead. I thought that was funny. None of the equipment works. It's like a small little box of a room. I was like, oh, that's so funny how they're just like obviously trying to make it as uncomfortable and annoying, as they can.
As they do, as they do. And Alicia gets assigned her room. She starts working. It's a little like you were saying, conditions aren't great, but there's a whole bunch of CDs. Big moment for CDs.
CDs, man. The CDs are back in a big way, baby.
Hey, they might be making a comeback. Like if the internet goes down, there's always
Listen,
CDs.
in like 20 years, CDs are going to be where vinyls are now. Okay.
It's true.
After
It's
after
true.
uh after tapes get their moment for like a decade, they will come back. It goes vinyls, tapes, then CDs. Okay.
Don't
And then
forget about
after,
the like 8-track though. Like the 8-track is still
yeah,
kicking in
true,
there
true.
somewhere.
But I feel like 8 tracks didn't have as big of moments as tapes and
They
CDs
didn't.
did. I feel like once we get our music like virtually transplanted into our brains where we don't even need a digital copy anymore, and then after CDs, digital copies will come back after the because I'm sure we're like 5 years away from someone finding a way to just zap music into our brains.
Yeah, that's probably true. Tapes are making like a bit like people are buying Walkmans right
See, it's
now.
starting. It's starting
It's
now. Like
happening.
pretty soon, you'll have tape decks back in your houses. We'll have those boom boxes back. They'll be the new thing. They'll be the new fad.
Stock up on pencils, people. You're gonna need them.
Oh, I get it now because you have to you have to rewind the
Yes.
tape. Okay,
You
yeah,
gotta,
got you.
yeah, with the
I,
tapes, because the
I didn't
tapes
get it
get
at first.
caught.
I was like
Yeah.
pencils, and I was like, oh yeah, you gotta do the little thing. Get your tape out, but tape
Yeah.
your things back.
That might be really confusing for our younger audience. So thank you for explaining. I was like, everybody's gonna know what a
I was
pencil's
like
gonna do.
pencils.
Pencil for a tape. Yeah, look it up. It was a thing. So Alicia starts listening to the tapes. She falls out of her chair because the chair is broken. But she's on the floor and then she hears when's the meter start running, Eli? And she's like, oh my God, back on.
Let me tell you something. This whole episode, I'm like, boy, Alicia has got like a lucky rabbit's foot, like up her butt or
Right?
something, because she is like she gets the most juiciest, she gets the best tapes that really are pertinent to her. Like she for some reason, this is the tape she got. Like it's as if someone was like, "Ooh, Alicia Fork's coming in. Let's give her all these juicy tapes that she can listen to."
Let me hand pick everything that's
Right?
appropriate for her.
Yeah.
Well, noticing not only is this Eli, but Eli is a client of the firm's. So Alicia brings this
Mhm.
to Diane. And Diane's like, okay, don't say anything because they put together that like the reason why Eli's phone might be wiretapped is because they're actually going after Peter. Because who wouldn't? Because,
Yeah.
yeah.
Listen, if Peter can get caught once, he can get caught again. So obviously, there's because they can use this Matthew Wade thing as a 6 degrees from Peter to try and get okay. We tapped Wade's phone. He talks to Eli, so that means we can tap Eli's phone. So that means we can possibly get some juicy info on Peter. Ooh, and I love how
Mhm.
they like Diane and Julius are like chopping up about like yeah, and of course they want to get to. They look at Alicia like
You, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That
yeah,
Peter guy.
yeah.
But also like this is important information that Diane is gonna stow away for a
Mm-hmm.
time later on in this episode.
After telling Alicia, like, make sure you don't tell Eli. This is part of the confidentiality thing. So you don't make sure you don't tell Eli. Okay, Diane.
Well, and
I see
they're
where you're
like
at
that.
with
Like,
this.
do you want off this case? Like, can you
Yeah,
do it? She's like, no, yeah, I can do this. Like, it's
yeah.
okay.
Alicia's like, I can do it. I love Julius giving her like a, yeah, you're doing a really good job. It's like, thank you, Julius. Like a little pep of confidence. I like that.
But like, no shade. She's literally just listening to tapes.
True, but she has to pay attention to the tapes,
Sure,
Marissa. Okay,
she does. Yeah, and the conditions are not comfortable. Like, yes, fair, fair, fair.
she could hear the Eli thing and was just like, whatever. But no, she brought the pertinent information.
That's true.
Give our
That's true.
girl the credit she deserves. That attaboy that Julius gave her was deserved. Sorry, attawoman.
Julius is
Sorry, the
like
attawoman that
really
she got.
good at like pep talks. He is really good at like
I love Julius.
encouraging
I'm a
people.
huge Julius fan. We need more Julius. And for those that watch a good fight, we get like a
We
good
get
bit
some
of Julius
Julius.
in that. So I'm here for the Julius love, and I'm the number one Julius fan. I think more Julius is what I'm saying.
So they are narrowing down their search now. Now they're listening for the words Islamic extremists in a joke. Like
Mhm.
this particular thing, they need the time code, they need the situation, they need the context because this will help explain that the government is just using the words Islamic extremists out of context to
Right.
put this on Wade. So Alicia goes back into her little listening room, and we get a call. I didn't call
Mm.
in. It wasn't me, but it was also me. Let me just tell you the joy I have with this character. Growing up, my name was never on any of those license plates that you could get at like any of the like Marissa was also like such a weird name for people. Like my camp counselor could not say Marissa, so she called me Mars Bars, which is why I have Mars Bars
Oh.
as my Twitter handle. Well, I did, but I am Mars Bars in other places as well. But anywho, so the fact that there was a character on this TV show named Marissa, spelled with two S's, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I do love the character of Marissa, like full stop. Like
Yeah.
she like this is not the only time we will hear or see her. Well, we don't really see her, but um I love that this is like her introduction into this world. I
Well,
totally forgot.
it is, and it kind of is. Like, I don't even think we get the word Marissa
No, we don't,
said
but in the
aloud.
closed captions it said it.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Very true. So yeah, we get a conversation between Eli and his daughter, who we will find out later is named Marissa, and Alicia. Alicia's just shocked. Alicia is floored that this man has a daughter. She's like, you can see on her face, like, oh my god, like Eli
Girl
has a
dad.
child.
What?
Someone,
What?
someone gave let him spawn. Someone let him have offspring. But she is just shocked. And listen, this is not. I listened hard. I don't think this is the actress that is going to play Marissa down the line. Like I don't think
Sure.
they hire that actress. Like, hey, speak in the phone, because of course you only hear her voice. I was listening. I was like, does not sound like the Marissa we come to know later.
Well, Marissa wants to go live in Israel and live in a kibbutz and is trying to like explain to her dad that she has to go. And Eli is very girl dad about it. And it's just like, okay.
Why wasn't this whole conversation, why was this whole phone call a 2518 minimization? Like
Yeah,
why?
exactly. Like, I don't know. Like we heard like that much of it. And it's
Yeah.
not like that wasn't personal. But
Yeah, exactly.
anywho, I was very excited to get our first Marissa.
So was
Like,
Alicia.
not real
Alicia,
mention. Like,
yeah.
but
Alicia's like, oh my god, this man has a daughter. I had no idea. It's weird that she doesn't know he has a daughter. You would think that she would know that at least about Eli. But
yeah.
it's as if Eli is this like complete mystery man. She's like, ooh, like I got some information about Eli. He has a daughter.
Well, and then she finds out more information from Eli. There's a whole conversation around like Eli has to pass a detail to Peter, and Eli's like, no, Peter doesn't do details, but I'll run it by his wife. And Wade is kind of like, oh, what do you like run everything by the candidate's wife now? And Eli says, Alicia's smart. Like she knows what she's doing, but she's like burdened by this thing called a conscience. So sometimes it's a little frustrating.
Yeah. I love that Alicia got that insight into how Eli feels and thinks about her. She's like, oh, like he actually kind of like likes me and respects me in a way. And I love how that
Yeah.
colors her conversations with Eli later.
Oh my gosh, yes. And she also does come across the Islamic extremist joke. Basically, the premise of this like inside joke is that like anyone who gives a large amount of money to Wade is going to the only people who would do that would be someone who is an Islamic extremist.
And they audibly laugh heartily.
Ha
Like, oh, we got to make sure they know it's a joke. So like, put a lot of laughs in there. It's like, boy, let me tell you, if I was on this like tap detail with Alicia, I'd be like, what the hell? Like, why does she get all the good stuff? Why do I
Right?
like it's as if like it's kind of like me when I watch, like, for those that watch Big Brother, it's like when I watch Big Brother live feeds, all I get is the
Oh, yeah.
mundane conversations about life at home and blah blah blah. When anybody else listens, they get all the juicy stuff about strategy, about like all this stuff they're going to do, but all I get is like, oh, where do you shop when you go home? Oh, I go to Kroger, I go to Ralph's, I do this and that. When I'm at home, I do this. Like, that's all I get when I would ever go on the live feeds, and it's like, oh, there's a fight happening. I was like, when? I never saw it. I never saw it. All I get is the boring stuff. That's what it would be like on this detail with Alicia. Like, oh my, like they are already so annoyed at Alicia because she has this close relationship with Will. She gets to talk to Diane all the time. Like, if I'm another second year social, like, this lady, like, she gets all the breaks. She gets all the perks. I'd be so
Right?
annoyed to be in this detail with her. Oh, the
When
golden child Alicia gets all the good stuff.
I always get the feed will return shortly.
Yeah, the puppies and all the like the little things like,
Yeah.
we'll be back in a moment. Like, you're not gonna be back in a moment. This is like a 3 hour feed block. Like, you're not coming back. The one time I'm able to watch feeds, I can't do it. So annoying.
This case is going before the court, and we see a familiar face behind the bench, none other than Judge Lesnar, who, in my opinion,
Mm.
is one of the more interesting judges to have, in my opinion.
I honestly thought that this is going, in my opinion, I thought it was going to be like a one and done for this judge. So I was like pleasantly surprised when we saw her again. I was like, oh my god! And the look on Will's face is like, oh shit! Like, it's like, as he has to, like, to like get the message to Diane, like, all right, this is what you got to do.
Well, yeah, and like the fact that it's Anna Gasteyer again, like I forget that she like does this more than once, because like you would think
Yeah.
that like someone of her her fame, like she was in Wicked, I think, at this time too. Like she's doing stuff. So, anywho, yeah, Will's giving. It's like, Diane, come here, come here, come here.
Like,
Just
psst,
say,
psst.
in my opinion, after everything you say. And Diane's like, what? It's like, just trust me, just go. And like here, you do see like the trust that these two people still have, because Diane does take this and runs with it. Like she is
Yeah.
able to make it work. And Diane is asking for the opinion, or for the dismissal of the charge, which, in her opinion, is a bit of an overreach. And this is, she's against a DA who has not been in front of this judge before. So she's a little confused, as everyone is in the situation,
Yep.
because she keeps getting asked, is that in your opinion? In your opinion? Is that in your opinion? So the DA shifts the focus to how, after one of these inside jokes were made, there was a mosque built outside of the advice of the community. So she's questioning, like, if this happened, like, why did it happen? And of course, Diane, in her opinion, thinks this is a bit of a moving target of a charge, and this should be like go back to the grand jury for evaluation. But Judge Lesnar is like, no, we're gonna, the DA has to give the evidence to the defense, and we'll be back in 4 days. So the case continues over back at the firm. Kalinda is doing her best exposition for us, the audience.
Yeah.
And
here's what we as the firm and you as the audience need to know.
yeah, it's like, okay, Wade did make this mosque thing happen, but it was good for the community in the end. So, like, that's not that big of a deal. But he did receive $50,000 from Crombie the day before he decided to do this, because apparently he was against, or like not for, the mosque before that.
Yeah.
And Crombie made multiple visits to the same gas station in Garfield Park. So they're trying to figure out where this $50,000 came from. There is a point in this conversation where Will is just like, this is a bad fact. Like, they don't have to be connected. It's just not looking great, but they can be different.
Yeah, and they do throw out there that the mosque, replaced was in a blighted neighborhood, replaced a
Yeah.
rundown meth. Yeah. Yeah, well, they
Oh,
say it
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
thing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
She
yeah.
says, she says it was in a blighted neighborhood and actually replaced a meth house. So, all in all, this was actually a good thing that they were able to tear down this drug house and were able to build this mosque there. So good thing. And, as you said, Kalinda's like, yeah, he went to a gas station like a bunch of times. Like, okay, so she's like, well, it's 10 miles out of his way. So that's weird, right? Something's going on with that.
Yeah, the same gas station. It's not like
Uh-huh.
you're gonna drive 10 miles to go get gas. In the city of Chicago, there's like a gas station every like
I
everywhere.
mean, listen, we have Royal Farms out this way in Baltimore. I don't know if that's a nationwide
Oh,
thing,
I
but
don't know about this.
I have a Royal Farms card that allows me to get 10 cents off my gas.
Love it.
So listen, if I, it probably reduces my savings actually if I was to go 10 miles to get gas to save 10 cents on a gallon, but I do bypass a gas station to go to Royal Farms to get some money off my gas. So maybe it wasn't that thing. Maybe he had a rewards card. I don't know. You don't
That could
know. You don't
be.
know
That's
Kalinda.
true. I don't
You don't
know.
know
That's right. I
everything.
don't know. That's right. That's right. I don't know. I don't know. But Kalinda's gonna find out. So she goes to
Mhm.
visit the gas station and she's like, yo, Lamont Bishop totally owns this gas station, right?
I was like,
Like,
oh, oh. I was like, Lamont Bishop. I was like, what? How did? What? When? How? What? I was like, ooh, like I had no idea that Mr. Bishop was going to be back in this episode. I was like, ooh, interesting. This is cool.
yeah, and like the clerk is like, he's not the owner. Just like, yeah. Like, if he comes in, just tell him that I'm looking for him. I'm in my car across the street. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'll be right there. I'm gonna wait right there. And Bishop does show up. He
Yeah, I love the visual of like Bishop, like we see him as a small speck as he's walking up towards Clinton's car. It's like, ooh, here's Lamont Bishop. I was like, oh man, I love me some Lamont Bishop. So I was pleasantly surprised that he was in this episode.
Well, and she's reading a newspaper and gets a gun out of the glove compartment, folds it into the newspaper,
I
making
could
sure
have
she's ready in case anything happens.
said, you know what? Let me get my gat. Let me get my gun. Let me make sure I'm ready for this man. No matter what happens, no matter what pops off.
And she's asking him, like, isn't this weird that like this happened? And Bishop's like, it's not weird to make a political donation. Like, I like to just keep it anonymous. You know, like it's
Mhm.
not anything. But what is bothering me is that you're asking questions about my business, and you need to stop.
Yeah, like ooh, that was like the one of the great things about Lamont Bishop is like he can so charmingly convey a threat. It's like it's one of the great things about Mike Coulter as like his like smooth like velvety voice like delivering this line is so good. He's like, well, I love to help out people, but I love to keep my donations private. But you're gonna need to stop asking questions now before I
Yeah,
effing kill you. Basically, it's like because I
and
will murder you.
he throws in like the good Lord intended, right? Like,
Mhm.
I was
Yeah,
like,
it's like, oh,
whoa. Yeah. So Kalinda's like, okay, let me go check out the mosque. So she goes to the mosque and she notices all these gang tags everywhere. So then we get another Kalinda exposition moment.
exhibition-a-thon. Yeah.
Yeah. Where Kalinda brings out a gang territory map from last year and she's like, okay, look, this territory is Lamont Bishop's. This is a rival gang. This is how it was. And the mosque is over here. So basically it's like Bishop territory, rival gang territory, mosque
Yeah,
territory.
the mosque is in the rival territory of
Yeah.
Lamont Bishop's last year.
Yeah. And then she shows from this year. And oh my gosh, Bishop's territory has expanded to
Was
include
it
the mosque area.
listen, was it weird that I was proud of Lamont? I was like, look at you. Like, took over the whole thing. I'm so happy for you, Lamont, that you have just like expanded your drug territory, your drug empire. Good on you, man. I was like weirdly proud of Lamont Bishop. It was like a weird moment. I didn't think I was like, oh wait, this man is a murderer and drug kingpin.
Well, also, yeah, but like, I
But
don't,
he's so
2518. Like, these things happen
uh
for like these things exist because the system doesn't support people. And so like part of me is like, yes, there is drugs and there is murder. Bad, not good. But
mhm.
there's also in some instances, not in all instances, like community support that happens that cannot happen in the situation. So and
Oh,
also it's like a great strategic board game move. Like this, if you're playing Risk, like this is
that's
a
basically what this was.
fantastic move.
Yeah.
Fantastic risk move.
So listen, you all heard that. Marissa supports drugs
Hey,
being in
that's
communities.
2518. That's I don't think, but I understand why they exist is kind of where I'm coming from. It's not
Okay.
great.
We get it.
It's
You
not great.
support drugs. You support
Oh
drugs and
boy.
drug dealers. You love them. Okay.
We might just have to
Moving
cut
on.
that part out. in 2025.
2518. We're going to use 2518 from now on in this podcast. So we do a tangent or do like something we're like, all right, this is a 2518, but
25. It's like in Monsters Inc. when they have a sock on the back. If you haven't seen it, you won't get it, but you get it. Anywho, 2518. Yeah, that's true. Okay. So after learning this, Will is going to go confront Wade, and
Will's mad. Will gets into bed with the worst people. Let's just put it right, because you remember that one lawyer what was he doing? He did something bad and he had to confront him. The guy that plays in Scandal. What's his name? Something Goldwyn, Tony Goldwyn.
Oh,
he was a bad guy.
Yeah.
I forgot what he did.
He was a judge, and he funded private prisons.
Yeah, he sent black kids to prison for kickbacks. Yeah, that was it. Will's friends are all bad. They all play basketball and they are all bad guys.
And the only place you can like have a conversation with each other is on the basketball court.
Yeah, it's on the court. It's like One Tree Hill. Meet me on the river court.
It's like, okay. So Will walks in. Bishop is ready to play. Will is not, like, baskipball.
Will ain't playing.
Will is ready to play a different game, but not basketball. He's still dressed in his suit and coat, and he's like, you took the money.
There's nothing like an indignant Will. I love the indignant Will mode where he's so righteous. And he's so mad at his friends about being bad guys.
You took the money. Bishop is a businessman. Get over it. Like, really? Like, he's a businessman just as much as, other people are other things.
He's as much a businessman as I am a point guard. It's like, you do kind of suck at basketball. So, and Wade's like, so a black man can't do this. Like, and Will's like, no. Don't play the race card here. Like, don't do that. This is not the time for that.
Well, and he brings up the fact that, like, he's like, we have two wars in this country, terrorism and drugs, and I'm trying to help you, and what you did was you just jumped from one war to the other. Like, you are not helping yourself. Like, I'm trying to help you here, and yes, there's things that happen, but you did not do yourself or me a service. I've been standing on your side. Like, I'm here.
And let's not forget, Marissa is a soldier in the drug war. She loves
oh my gosh, stop. It's a very complicated situation. I'm sure there are papers about it, and I should not have spoke on it because I do not know that much. But
you get it. You love drugs and drug dealers. You understand.
Jason. Anywho. Wade tells Will, like, I'm not taking the plea. Like, you gotta keep going. Will's like super, he takes the ball, throws it all the way across the court. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not having it. But at the end of the day, the case must go on. So now they're going to turn their attention to see if there's a prominent white person on the list, involved in these tapes.
Yeah, I love how Will's like, yeah, Wade says this is racially motivated, and Diane's like, well, it is, but let's try and use that to our advantage. Let's see what other white people we can pull into this so that they'll drop it if we pull in these other like prominent white people who they don't want to embarrass when they're trying to embarrass this black man.
Yeah, I mean, if it's race, use it like Diane's saying, like, to your advantage, and call out the privilege that some people get in those situations. There's a conversation in the hallway with Alicia, Will, Diane, and Julius, I think. And Alicia's like, well, we know one white person who's on those tapes.
And Will's like, we do? Who?
What? Oh, it's Eli. Oh. And so they're like, yeah, well, let's leave him out of this. Let's see if there's anybody else. But then, like, Will and Diane go into their offices, and Will's like, how long have you known this? Diane's like, 2 weeks. Don't share information anymore? Nothing. Like, Diane says nothing.
The rift continues to open wide between Will and Diane.
Yeah. Back at the federal building, Julius calls in Alicia to listen to something.
Of course, he calls Alicia in. Of course, if I'm one of the other associates, like, of course he calls her. Of course.
Well, like, like Julius doesn't know who this is. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I think he knows. I just think he wants.
I know he wants confirmation. Yeah.
Like I really want to spend a day with one of the other unnamed associates around Lockhart Gardner and how annoyed they are at Alicia. These are the same people that probably dissed her on their peer reviews. Are like, she gets all the lucky breaks. She's never here. I'm busting my ass. Meanwhile, she go home to her kids, and I'm sitting here all day, and she gets a preferential treatment from Will and Diane. Like, I just want to spend a day with one of those people.
I think that would make, like, you know, what they did with Star Trek is they made like an animated series called Lower Decks, which was
Yeah.
all about like the people, the unnamed people who are also on the ship. I would love like a shorts series of those associates. I think it would be fun. So Julius calls in Alicia and is like, "Hey, is this who you think it is?" And she, you can tell she's from Chicago because she says the machine is falling apart. The machine references the political machine in Chicago, the corrupt political machine that was like in the, for a very, very long time, like from the 50s, 60s, 70s, like there was this machine. But when Obama got elected, a lot of those people went to the White House. So it kind of changed the political landscape in Chicago. So she's like, "Oh, what are you going to do? Like, I'm here in the White House. Is the machine falling apart? Like, you need my help." And we find out that this is Ruth Yamaguchi. I have no idea who this was supposed to, like, if they were referencing a real person. I don't think that they
Yeah.
were.
I don't know. I looked up Ruth Yamaguchi, and all I could find was the Good Wife references. So I don't think this is a real person.
But there
Well, it's
was,
like so. It's like, but so people ask, who is Ruthie Yamaguchi, and it says Ruth Yamaguchi is a member of the Obama administration. She could be heard on a wiretap of one of Lockhart and Gardner and Bond's clients. Like, oh, this is from the freaking Good Wife wiki apparently. Like, so not a real person, I don't think. Anyway.
well, that's probably for the best. Diane goes back in front of the judge asking, you know, like, "Hey, can we dismiss the case?" She says, "No." Then Diane says, "Well, in my opinion, we only need one person. We just need a subpoena to, like, you know, keep going with this case. Just one subpoena. Just, you know, for Ruth Yamaguchi." And everyone's eyes is like, "Oh my God, Ruth Yamaguchi. Oh my
The
gosh.
Ruth Yamaguchi.
She works at the White House." Like,
It's
what?
like you want to call someone from the White House on this case. That's who you want to do. You want to call someone from the capital THE the White House. Like, oh my God, this is like a big deal. Of course,
1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, not
in Washington,
1601.
yeah, in Washington D.C., like that White House, that one with the president in it, that one,
Not the White House from Home Alone, but the White House.
not the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air White House, like the White House in D.C. That one, that's what you want, girl. Who do you think you are? That's basically it's like, who do you think you are? I think you could call someone from the White House for this case.
Yeah. And I mean, like, Diane argues very well. She's like, "Look, I know at this time, 2010, we don't necessarily want to put the president's name next to the words Muslim and extremist. However, that should not stand in the way of justice." And of course, the judge is like, "Yeah, okay, subpoena ordered." And the DA is like, "Oh, we're gonna need like a 5-minute recess." Like,
Well, actually, we're gonna need to talk about this because this ain't happening. We're not embarrassing. We're not going to come up against the White House on this, so we're gonna have to think on this one for a minute. I do like how, like you said, Diane was like trying to appeal to the judge, like, Judge, do you think like the White House should stand in the way of one of your cases? Like, is the White House too good for you, Judge? Are you afraid, Judge? And Judge's like, no, I'm not afraid. I'll do it. I'll issue the subpoena if you want me to issue. I'll do it. Like, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to do it. Oh,
she
man.
did it.
He did it.
And I mean, this is another like classic Good Wife. Like, there's the 5-minute recess, and then we find out in a conversation in a hallway that the case was dropped. Like,
Yeah.
that was
Just like,
it.
yeah, they just dropped the whole case.
High five. Which Alicia's in a state, which we'll talk about later. But
Alicia, you don't leave Julius hanging. That's what
yeah,
you
that's
don't
not
do.
cool. That's not
And
cool.
Julius just like standing there with his arm up, like, hey, girl. And Alicia's just like, I'm in my own world now, Julius. I don't have time for you and your high fives. I'm dealing with some angst going on. That's no reason to leave Julius hanging. Okay.
Never.
You don't leave Julius Kane with his arm up in the air hanging. And good on Julius. He just put his hand, I was like, good job. Good job. Don't take the disrespect from her, Julius. Chase her down and get that high five, Julius. Grab her hand and smash into yours.
Gives a voicemail. I'm still waiting for my high five.
Every time you see Alicia, have your hand up. Like, I'm still waiting, girl. I'm still waiting. You left me hanging.
So that was the case of the week. We did have some other stuff going on in this episode. At the firm, Blake and Kalinda are still feuding. We learned that Kalinda knows about Dr. Booth, who was in the poisoned pill episode with Michael J. Fox, the psychiatrist who couldn't testify because he was beat up. We found out he's in a coma. So Blake says, I just broke in and left the door open. Like, that's what I did. I didn't do anything. And Kalinda's like, okay.
Sure, buddy.
And Kalinda was waiting outside of the grand jury. This happens earlier in the episode. And she sees Carrie in the hallway. And Carrie's like, hey, Kalinda, like, I got to talk to you.
Hey, Kalinda, we got to have a conversation. We got to have a talk, Kalinda. All right, Carrie. Our Carrie moment of the episode, which I'm still upset that Carrie is not a bigger part of the show.
I know.
Get rid of Blake. Get rid of Blake, who I think is supposed to be like a Carrie replacement, and give me Carrie back.
Yeah.
Because Blake's not doing it for me. Give me Carrie back full time.
There's a moment where I thought like Blake was Carrie. I was like, oh, it's Carrie. No, it's Blake.
It's Blake.
Carrie tells Kalinda, like, your fingerprints were found on the scene at Dr. Booth's office. I told the police that this kind of assault was unlike you, and he like dips his head and like looks at her. Look elsewhere.
Kalinda, I don't know what's going on with you and your devil of a law firm, but you really gotta figure this out. You really gotta figure out who else this could be. Come on, Kalinda. Come on. Yeah, I need my Carrie back. I miss my Carrie voice.
Before leaving, Kalinda says, well, like, what was the weapon that they said was used at this? It was a baseball bat. Baseball bat. When did we see Kalinda with a baseball bat? A couple episodes ago, trashing Blake's rental car. So Kalinda asked Blake, like, hey, what happened to the bat? He's like, I took it.
It's like, I didn't want you to destroy another one of my rental cars, so I just took it. Like, ooh, another strike in the war of Kalinda and Blake. I feel like Blake's starting to win a little bit because we got the whole what was her name? Diane? Not Diane. What was the lady's name? Kalinda's fling. Kalinda's fling that Blake used against her.
The public attorney.
Yes. That lady. He got that lady. Now he has the bat. Like, Kalinda, like, you gotta do something now. Like, it's your turn. It's your turn to strike.
Well, and I think he knows this because he goes to Kalinda and says, like, you know what I want? I just want a truce. Like, we don't need to do this anymore, because he has all of this stuff, right? Like, he feels comfortable calling this because he has all of this stuff on her. And Kalinda just leans in and goes, this won't end well.
Oh boy.
So
you never go against Kalinda, because Kalinda's not going to drop anything. So I'm waiting for the new Kalinda strike, because Blake's got her over a barrel at this point.
Yeah.
He's got her weapon that, I'm sure probably has that doctor's blood on it, and has Kalinda's fingerprints and the doctor's blood on it. He's ready to just turn over to anybody at any given moment to say, like, I got you, girl. Like, so what's up? Let's get a truce going. Let's not forget, Kalinda did start this. Like,
she did. She 100% did. Yeah.
For reasons kind of unknown. I don't know. She felt threatened by this other investigator, so she started this thing, and now Blake's got a lot of info right now.
Yeah, he's got the leverage for sure.
For sure.
We also saw this scene. I put it in the firm section because it happens at the firm, but Tammy surprises Will with Bears tickets, and Will's very excited.
Very excited. Very, very excited. He's ready to get very excited because, listen, Tammy shows up in his office, gives him Super Bowl tickets, starts stripping. Like, whoa, okay. Listen.
Yeah.
If I got to choose between Alicia and Tammy right now, Tammy's got a leg up. Probably quite literally. If you know what I mean.
I do love the bit of physical comedy that we get from Will here, where he like trips over himself on his
And this comes at a pivotal moment where Alicia wants to go talk to him, and it's like she just hears the bang in the office as Will
Yeah.
trips over his stuff, trying to get his clothes off to do it with Tammy in his office, which is an interesting thing to do with this office being so out in the open.
Well, also though, like he has a private bathroom. Like you
He
have
does,
options.
yeah.
Like
You have
you could
options.
go to there, but I mean, if you want it, like there's so many germs in bathrooms. But anywho, I think it's his private bathroom. Okay, stop thinking about it. Then
Because listen, I got visions in my head right now that of Will and Tammy that are happening now. So
I can't. Oh, did I ever? This my 2815. Well,
2518.
2518. I can't see behind my eyes. Like I can't. I can't. I don't have a mind's eye. Like I can't see
Really,
things.
you can't
I really
imagine scenarios.
can't.
Really?
No, really.
That's gotta be some sort of like condition that you have there.
It
Because
is. It's called
I
aphantasia.
aphantasia. Oh my god, like
Yeah.
Fantasia Barrino. But no,
Yes.
but, but no. Any situation anyone ever brings to my mind, I have an extremely like vivid imagination. I start making scenes. I start doing stuff. So we talk about
Here's
Tammy
the
and
thing.
Will in a private bathroom. I'm like, whoa, let's get out of here.
I thought that I did until I learned that other people don't see like that other people are seeing things. Like there was a whole week where I was like, wait a minute, you see it like behind your eyes. Like it's behind your eyes. Like I don't understand. I will like
Wow.
know something, like I can know it, but I can't see it. So
Oh,
like
I
the
feel
best
so
way I can
bad for
like
you.
explain it is that like the projector's on, but there's no screen to like catch the image.
I
It's
feel
very
so
weird.
bad for you. So you have like no imagination, literally.
Okay, literally, but I am a very creative and imaginative person. I think these are two
Huh.
different things because like I can imagine a
But you
world.
can't see it playing out in your head.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Man, I feel so bad for you. Like that's my whole
Thank
life.
you.
Like
Thank you. Thank you.
man,
It is rough. It's rough out here.
we're gonna start a GoFundMe for to figure out a way to get you an illustrative imagination.
Well, and I think that's why I write the show so much because I'm like processing it in real
Uh-huh.
time. Like I haven't like imagined it, so I'm just like, oh well, this
Man,
could be blah blah blah. Anywho,
do you want to
ta-
give a Chicago woman a, an imagination? Do you want to help her see scenes in her mind? You can
it's not
donate
even
today.
possible.
You can donate today to the Marissa Garza Illustrative Imagination Fund and help this young woman be able to think of things in her mind. Donate today. Call 1-800 Garza for your donation. Cue
Wiretap
cue so,
resume.
cue soft, sad, sappy music.
In the
In the
arms
eyes
of an
of
angel.
the angel. It's just shots of Marissa looking perplexed of like, I don't know how to think. Yeah. Yeah. Give me some poses of like thinking Marissa. Go ahead. Yeah, that's good.
I'm
Oh
like
yeah, squinty
trying
eyes
really
is good.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that's great. Oh,
Ooh,
fantastic.
yeah, this is great for
If,
like
if you're if you're
you
not
have a
watching the
yeah.
YouTube, if you're not, you gotta look at the YouTube for this. So good.
Okay, 20, 25 or 2518 resume. Um, okay, so now Diane's gonna make her move and like ask Eli. So Eli is in the office a couple of times. One of the times because Diane calls Eli and like just sits Eli down, gets right to it. It was like, hey, I am starting a new firm and I want to take your business with me. I don't understand where she thinks that this relation,
Yeah.
like she has a relationship with Eli or what, but she does have this piece of information in her head. And I think that's the
Mhm.
main motivation here because she knows Eli is going to be like, where's Alicia going? Right. Like,
Well, you
and
would think she would, but she looked surprised when Eli was like, "Where's Alicia going?" She's like, look on her face is like, why does that matter? It's like, because Alicia is Eli's buddy. Like this is how
yeah,
you got the
like,
business in the first place. So come on, Diane.
yeah. But then Diane says, like, before he leaves, you're being wiretapped, so you're gonna need a good lawyer. Like, that is the reason. Like, she knew she had something to like hook him to at least consider it because originally Eli's like, I don't play like that. Like, that's not a thing I want to get involved in. I'll be where Alicia is. So, apparently, though, this new firm is going to be established very soon, and
Yeah,
it is with David. So
yeah.
there are
Like she
moves
puts
happening.
everything. yeah, she puts everything on Front Street. Like, listen, Bond and Will are trying to, force me out. I'm making a new firm with David Lee. This happened in a few weeks. I was like, oh, where did this timeline come from? This is news to us. And she's like, so are you with me or not with me, Eli? And of course, Eli's like, I'll go wherever Alicia goes. Like,
Yeah,
and I think Eli knows, like, Alicia's going with Will, which Diane also,
because
she's
he
like,
knows from the phone
yeah,
call.
yeah. Diane's like, I would assume she's gonna go with Will. And then look at Eli's face is like, so why are you talking to me? Like,
Yeah.
because I'm not gonna go with you. Like, obviously. So he politically listen. He's like, I don't think I'll be. I don't want to get involved at the time. Like, basically saying, and he says, I have to see where the pieces fall. Basically, like, I'm gonna go where Alicia goes.
Yeah. Well, but at the same time, I think he's also wondering, like, why didn't Alicia tell me this? Because Eli
Well, I'm
has
sure after he
been,
finds out about the wiretap, he'll be like,
yeah,
why didn't Alicia tell me about the
yeah,
wiretap?
yeah,
It's because Diane told her not to because it's confidential information. But Diane apparently don't care about that. She's willing to spill the beans if she thinks she can get a leg up in that way.
yes, which is different than the Tammy way. But yes.
Different than a Tammy leg up for sure.
And then on the campaign and family front, Becca is back. Becca
Becca's back.
is
Becca's
back.
back. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Becca's back. Oof.
I put in my
And
notes, Becca's back. Ugh.
how do you spell ugh?
UGH?
Oh yeah, that's how I spell ugh too. Like ugh.
Okay, I was like, is there another
Maybe
one?
like a UGG, but whenever I gotta spell ugh, it's
Oh,
always UGH for me as well.
yeah. Ugh. Ugh.
It's not an H pretty
Um,
much.
we are reminded that Becca set up a fake profile for Glenn Childs Jr. and like there's no action happening on it. So, we need to get something to happen. And Becca's great idea is like, let's have him say something racist about Wendy Scott Carr to make something go, to make it go viral. And then we get again a very good timeline marker reference
Mhm.
in the world because all Zach needed to hear was viral, and then we go straight to it's double rainbow across the sky.
This was so weird. This whole video they made of the
It was
stupid
so weird.
voice. Yeah, it's like, look, Dad, it's a double rainbow. I was like, what? What is happening
Yeah, and
with
then we
with
find
the
out
weird
later that like the
animation?
whole thing was like not only, hey dad, why is there a double rainbow, but hey dad, you're camping with me and in my sleeping bag? Like why did their brains go there as teenagers and
I
how did they make this?
There's like a weird suggestion of incest, I guess. I'm just like,
Yeah.
huh? This is weird. This is very, very odd. Uh, Zach at first is like, we can't have him say something racist. Like Zach's like on the right track here, but then he goes to this level. I'm like, what is even happening at this moment?
But do you remember the double rainbow?
I do. I vaguely remember the double rainbow. I don't think I was as connected online at that point in my life, but I do remember the person freaking out about a double rainbow video back in the
It
day.
was across the sky, Jason. A
It was
double
across the
rainbow
sky. Couldn't
across
see
the
where it
sky.
ended or where it started, Marissa.
It was so cool. Yeah, that was definitely like in the time of Vine and like the beginning of meme culture. It was a good time.
Mhm.
Glenn's new campaign manager picks up the phone quite promptly and calls Eli and is like, "Hey, you said you weren't going to make it about families, but obviously you're making it about families." And Eli's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And walks out into like the bullpen and like asks people like Google double rainbow and Glenn
Glenn Childs.
Childs. And he finds this video. So Eli calls Alicia, and now remember, Alicia at this point in the episode had just heard Eli say that she's smart and competent and amazing, and so
And
Eli,
Alicia knows that he's being tapped right now. Like,
yes,
so
yes,
she's aware.
Eli calls. She's like, "Oh, hello, Mr. Gold." Eli's like, "What? What?
It's
Why?
the happiest
What?
I've ever heard you hear
What?"
from me.
Yeah, it's like, okay. And it's like, well, we got a situation. And she's like, yeah, let's talk about it in person. Like, let's not talk over the phone. Let's talk about it in person. Very, very smart, but also a very hard line for her to walk, given the
Mhm.
instructions from Diane. So Eli then goes to visit the firm and tells Alicia about the tape. Again, like a whole other like, oh, it's so great to see you. Oh my gosh, so good. And yes, so she's like having this conversation in a hallway, which isn't very much more secure than a taped phone line, in my
Yeah, not
opinion,
very
but
confidential.
whatever. Um, we also see a scene with Zach and his girlfriend, Nissa. Nissa wants Zach to get a sweet little stud, a sweet little earring, a sweet little stud. I was like, I cannot gag. I almost threw up in my mouth. It was so. Ugh.
Why?
I don't know. I just was like, Zach, no. I just, no.
So basically, just Zach,
Yes.
overall makes you want to gag.
Zach.
I get it. I
Yes.
get it. I get you.
Just
Yes.
Zach.
Zach being so teeny, right? Like a teen.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah. Those freaking teenagers. I love teenagers. And I
Off
was
my
never
lawn.
like that. Like, I
You
was
really love
never,
teenagers?
I not like as a group of people.
25,
Like,
18.
oh
25,
my
18.
God.
Marissa says she loves
Jason.
teenagers. We're learning so much
Jason.
about you, Marissa.
Jason. Anywho.
25, 18.
Where am I? Okay, so Zach and us are in a cafe having this like conversation about getting earrings, and they look outside and they see Becca's just like parked outside in her Mini Cooper, standing outside, and Glenn Childs Jr. comes up and confronts it. She's like, "I know it's you because the picture was used from drama camp."
You're the only one that has pictures from drama camp, apparently.
That's it. I do want to mention, I think this scene took place outside of the Rookery building, which is like one of the oldest, if not the oldest, skyscrapers in the world, and is also used in Home Alone 2 as the toy store. Anywho,
Ooh, Chicago trivia.
little
I love it.
Chicago, yeah, a Chicago 2518. Zach then decides to come to Becca's defense, which I'm like, Zach, are you thinking this through? Like, now they're going to tie it to the Florix, like, because you're directly here. Of course, they have a fight. Zach has got a bloody nose. Becca's all like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you came to my defense. So nice. And then looks and notices that there's a girl sitting in a cafe who must be Zach's girlfriend.
Yeah, so this really triggers Becca because she wants Zach for whatever reason. She's like Marissa, loves teenagers.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
God.
she does see Zach going back to hang with Nissa. So I was like, oh, who's this girl? She's a threat to me. Like, so she got to do something about that.
Oh, and she does. She goes and visits Zach at home and tells grandma Jackie tells Jackie, I'm visiting Zach, but he's just not here. He asked me to wait. Is that okay? Oh, so good. Okay. Well, Zach has a girlfriend. You're not his girlfriend. She's like, no, we're just study partners. I don't have time for a boyfriend. But I do want to let you know that his girlfriend's family's from Somalia.
Oh
So
man, well, look on that triggered Jackie out of like just to the stars. She's like, what? Black people? Did you say black people? Oh,
yeah.
boy.
And like Nissa is very aware of this because later in the episode, Nissa and Zach are studying, and she says, like, Jackie doesn't like me. And Zach's like, well, just tell her you have like a 4.2 GPA and she'll like it. It was like, no, she's
like,
still.
They ain't gonna do it, brother, because it's all about the color on this here hand. Doesn't matter what my GPA is, doesn't matter what I do. She's always gonna have a way about her.
Yes. And during the study session, Becca messages a video of Grace basically like, he did it one time. He did it one time. Not great. Not great for Zach.
Listen, we are getting so much video. We're getting so much video content of Grace doing like crazy stuff lately. Like, this is the second or third time we've gotten some bad Grace material from trackers, from the opposition, where it's like he slept with the hooker one time, just one time. He beat it once, he'll beat it again, and of course, with all those words, it's just like beat it again. It's like just over and over again. One hooker. Like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Oh man, Grace, we're gonna need you to just like zip those lips. Like, just we're not gonna be able to allow you to go out on your own anymore. We have to watch you because you just saying the crazy stuff, girl.
Yeah, for real. So Zach is just like, I have to phone my dad. which we will talk about the word phone.
Oh man, is that a Chicago thing, or is that like
No,
an old person?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna phone you. I'll phone you later. Like I've heard that before, but not a lot. I feel like it is like an older person thing though.
Yeah, it's definitely
From a
the
certain
fact that,
older demographic as well.
which is surprising that Zach says it because I'm like, I have
It's
to.
just because old people write the show.
Yeah, that's
I,
true.
I
That's
think
true.
something that we can realize from watching how the show depicts younger people is that old people write this show. Okay,
That's true.
they don't have a lot of young people on staff at The Good Wife in the writers' room.
Okay, we're here. We're here at the steamiest part of this episode.
Oh
Um,
boy.
one of the things we did not mention when Alicia was getting served all of the pertinent pieces of information to her life through the tapes is that there was a taped conversation between Wade and Will. And it is all about the voicemail that we saw in the previously on, that we saw at the end of season 1, the voicemails that Will left Alicia. She's like, she didn't say anything. I phoned twice.
I
And
phoned her and she didn't pick up.
then we get a 2518 and like,
At the exact right moment, we get a 2518. It's like,
yeah.
well, it's basically like, what'd you say in the second voicemail? He's like, I said 2518, minimization. You won't get to hear what he said to you in the other voicemail. Because this is
And
the moment we cut out.
but then we come back in on Wade telling Will, just go say it in person. What you're going to do is you're going to get off the phone and say it in person. And I'm like, how is that not part of the 2518? Like, it's still part of the
Who knows?
conversation.
Well, it's supposed to be a 30-second timeout, right? From whatever
Sure.
videos.
But
I
you could
guess
have
that was
another
the end of.
one.
I guess you have to have some time pass between 2518 minimizations. I don't know. I don't know how it actually works. But yeah, like these like why like it's so weird to me that Wade is the one. Wade is the guy who Will is just like spilling his guts to. They're this good of buddies, and this is the first time we ever heard from Wade of like Will is basically like telling him all his business. They're basically girl talking, they're boy talking, if you will,
Yes.
about their personal lives. It's so weird to me. It just felt like a convenient thing to have this paired with this particular plot.
It was like, did you pass the note? Did you circle yes or
Right.
no? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, did you get lucky last night? What happened? But he
And
basically like spills his guts about the whole thing.
yeah, and he ends it saying, like, I'm done, I'm over it. This gets Alicia to like, she's like freaked out.
She is verklempt. She is like she gotta go get some air. I guess you probably because you can't check your phone while you're in the little room. So
Right.
she goes and like listens to the one voicemail she has, like to make sure she didn't miss anything. She's like, what is he talking about in this voicemail? Like he didn't say any of the stuff he said. He said, "Where's my other voice? Where's this voicemail he's talking about?"
And it's still on her phone. Like, she
Uh,
still has it on her
well, I mean, we
phone.
saw from the other episode that she had it saved because Peter was threatening to listen
Right.
to it.
Right,
So we
right.
know
But
she
she's
saved it.
still, yeah, but it's like still there. Like, I'm just saying, like, she's
Yeah,
still, even
this
still,
is an artifact that she wants to listen to. She probably listens to it like late at night, like in bed,
her
like
private bathroom.
do stuff. You know what I mean? She got hear Will's voice or something. But yeah, she listens to it. She's like, what in the world is going? She is so confused at this moment.
So confused that she builds up the courage. This is like towards the end of the episode where she's like in a haze. Like, everything's moving so slow. She has no idea. Julius is trying to give her the high five that we
She
talked
leaves Julius
about.
hanging. Yeah.
Like, everything's going on. Like, what's going on? So she finally has the courage to go ask Will, like, hey, I like have a question. Can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah, you can ask me a question. Um, okay. And then Tammy comes in through the private bathroom door, and her question opportunity is squandered.
Womp womp womp. Oh
Yeah,
man.
so a lot happening this
Yeah.
episode.
This is a big episode for our heroes. It was a big episode for Marissa. We learned that Marissa loves teenagers.
Okay.
Supports the drug trade.
Oh my gosh.
Lots going on with you, Marissa. You don't have a vivid imagination,
I don't.
man.
It's bad.
We learned so much about you today.
You're welcome. Yeah, so that is
Uh,
season 2, episode 8 on tab.
big
I
episode.
Yeah, I hope some of these pieces get picked up going into the season. Like, I'd love to know what that phoning between Zach and his dad was like. Um, just like if he got in trouble or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be great. But we
A
shall
lot
see.
happened. We got movement on some of our plot
Yeah.
lines. I really appreciate that. Marissa, before we
Yeah.
go, do you want to tell the good folks of the Good Pod where they can find you and all of your activities online?
Well, if you have interest in that after listening to this episode.
Listen, you want to know more about the drug trade? You want to
No.
know you, you want to know about
No.
teenagers versus the
Oh
source
my
for you?
god. There's gonna be some serious editing in this episode. Um
A lot of 2518s going on.
2518. Um, you can find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky Ski at It's Me Marissa G. I am usually up to 1 or 2 creative projects or so, and I will talk about them there. Otherwise, I'm just existing in what is now, at the time this is airing, 2025. So I don't know what that version of me is up to. So go find out by checking out my Instagram because I'm sure I'll be telling you. Jason, what
probably
about
probably
you?
doing probably doing some freaking out or for one way or the
Probably.
other. You can find me on the Blue Sky JR33D. You can find me podcasting about the show Married at First Sight on my podcast A Perfect Match with me and Asia Welch. Come listen to us as we break down this fun show. You don't even need to watch the show to follow along. So we're having fun there. Marissa's having fun with her teenagers and her
Oh my god.
non-imagination. So check out all those endeavors. But until next time, stay good.